Hello everybody, it's Riff Raff Hornhelm and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we have a monster review. Today we're going to talk about the MEDUSA, as it appeared in the original monster manual, and of course used with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is now considered to be 1E. So the MEDUSA is a frustrating creature from anybody who enjoys any kind of extensive library of mythology and fantasy tales and so forth and so on. I don't want to spend a great deal of time going into the original Medusa story that most people get exposed to as a part of Greek mythology. But the Medusa is basically the same idea in Dungeons and Dragons, but suddenly there's a lot of them. And when I say a lot of them, I mean they are considered rare, or very rare, I believe. But they can show up in lots of 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. That's crazy. Why would there be more than one? I don't understand that. So you can have more than one on the field at the same time. They're only a 6 hit dice creature. They have a armor class of 5. Nothing here is too scary so far. Now, in spite of being relatively weak in terms of hit points and armor class, they are very intelligent and they are lawful evil. I think that suits the way in which film and books and mythology have looked at the Medusa. But once again, you can have more than one. They're not somebody that you're going to find everywhere. They hang out generally in dark subterranean places, and so you're talking about maybe the caves under a temple, or something that's underground, where you're probably influenced by the area around it as to whether or not it exists there or not. I mean, beyond the fact that they live in subterranean, it's not very descriptive, so you've got a lot of wiggle room on that side. So its primary offensive ability is, of course, the very famous thing that a Medusa does, which is its gaze can turn its opponents, or anybody who gazes upon its gaze, into stone. You have to make it save versus petrify. But the reality is that, you can be turned to stone. It's what Medusa are famous for. Does that make this Medusa? I'm not really sure. The other part of it is that if you get close enough in range, it can attack you with the writhing snake-like hair that is a very dominant feature, as you can see on the Medusa. And that's like the bite of an asp. And it can only do 1 to 4 hit points damage, but you have to make another save, this one against poison, or you shall die. So a Medusa otherwise is pretty much the classical looking Medusa. So you're talking about a lady generally having either a very beautiful or very horrific looking face that has a hairdo made out of writhing snakes. How cool is that? I don't know that you necessarily have to have it with glowy eyes or not. I mean, that's typical in film. But certainly its gaze is what can turn you to stone. Once again, that goes out to 30 feet. Now, in the popular mythology, it appears that the range of this gaze goes a bit further than that, but that's not really a big quibble here. I think the biggest issue that I have with the Medusa here is that you can have multiples. They don't have any other special attacks or defenses. They have no special resistance to magical attack. So, they're not. I guess I kind of would expect a Medusa to have a little bit more kick to it. And certainly when I talk to the members of the HornhelmClan and players that we know, the review on this was, about a 4.5. And that was stretching it, at least from a DM standpoint. They thought it was too easy to get around this. Too many people would recognize it right away. And really, the major effect of this is a one-trick pony. It's easy to stand outside the range of that gaze and plunk it with arrows. And it doesn't have so many hit points that if you have 3 or 4 good missile weapon people in your party, that you can't kill it that way. Or a magic user with a few magic missiles to assist. Yeah, you should be able to handle a Medusa without too much problem. And as a DM who has played these before, after the initial shock wears off and everybody goes, oh my god, it's Medusa, it settles into a pretty easy battle for the adventurers. Now, when I asked players about it, that's kind of the reaction I got. I didn't get anybody who said it was more than a 4. And they said, well, they're kind of easy to take care of as long as you can keep yourself at a bit of a distance. And you don't even really have to stand that far away, since it only has an effective range of 30 feet. I mean, yes, they're capable of moving, and they don't move as fast as a human, but they don't move slow and lumbering either. I think it's 90 feet around, something like that. Bottom line is, a Medusa is a very fraught title, well recognized from mythology and stories, and it's kind of disappointing that they didn't put a little bit more effort into it. It's really not that big of an opponent, and watering it down by putting more of them in there is, to me, not a happy solution. The Medusa is less than it could have been. Having said all that, they still do have a pretty good shock factor when they first show up, and people have to think again about how close they can get. And there may be some trial and error in that, and every group of adventurers has that one person that tends to test the boundaries. So they're kind of fun for a couple of rounds, but after that, it wears out fast. Now, they do have an advantage in the sense that they're able to look into the astral and ethereal plane, and if its gaze falls upon somebody who doesn't make a save, it applies to prime material plane, astral, and ethereal. That makes them a little more dangerous on that side, but once again, if you're keeping the distance, and that distance doesn't have to be that far, yeah, you should be able to deal with these. I don't think that there's any party out there that's really going to have too much difficulty with this, as long as you're, say, the 5th level or higher. I wouldn't expect much difficulty. In any case, we hope you found today's presentation interesting, and if you did, please give us a like, consider sharing with your friends, maybe subscribe, leave us a comment. But by all means, come back and see us again real soon. We really appreciate your support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!